Hi there, and welcome to the I'll Try That podcast. This week, we're doing something a little bit different. We're kind of going back to our primary school days, and we're doing a little bit of show and tell. So myself, Joe, and Barber have all picked a beer that we would like to bring to the floor to have a little discussion and a chat about. None of us know what any of the beers of that we've chosen, and we're going to have each little bit of time to chat and discuss each one. But first, I'm going to hand over to Barber for the hop topic. So take it away.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so actually, with that in mind, I know that we sort of discussed amongst ourselves that what we were going to do for our show and tell was beers with a bit of a local angle. And so it's actually from a personal local angle, I'm going to give you a bit of news. Just of yesterday, as you guys know, I dwell in Cheltenham, and I'm very lucky to have a few breweries on my doorstep. Gloucester Brewery, one of the more successful, or currently more successful ones in the area, announced yesterday that they are, essentially for ourselves, the listeners, or anyone who's got a spare few quid, there's an investment opportunity. Gloucester Brewery are looking to expand, having had just an absolute whirlwind successful 6 months. They've seen a huge increase in their revenues basically since January 2021. Presumably that's linked to coming out of lockdown and that sort of thing. But they're looking to raise £500,000 over the next 25 days. And offering 9.09% equity. Their plans essentially are to, within Gloucester, for anyone who's not familiar with the city, there's you have basically Gloucester Quay, so it's like a waterside city. They're going to open a tap room and have a self-serve bar, if the rumours are to be believed, and presumably if they hit their fundraising target. And basically they're trying to do some crowdfunding. So anyone who wants to get involved can go and tuck in. They've seen, again, bit of a personal angle, as I am a Gloucester rugby fan. In the last 6 months or so, longer ago than that, they've started selling to Gloucester Rugby Club, so their beers are being offered at the ground for match days and that sort of thing. And so really, the reason for this, as you probably figured out, is just sharing a story of a local brewery that's currently going from strength to strength, despite a period of, I think, what for everyone was difficulty and uncertainty.
What do we mean by self-serve tap room? Are we literally being able to pour our own pints?
No, I mean, Travis, it's like when you go to one of your supermarkets and they have the self-service checkouts. You go along, there's these little units, you kind of pour out your beer and then it automatically goes wrong and a big red light pops up and then you have to wait ages for someone to come over to swipe and put in their little key card and their numbers and say that you're clearly over 21. Everyone's looking around and stamping their foot and tutting.
Children
in the
are crying and spitting.
Yeah, I really can't wait. But I just feel there could be a lot of liberties taken for a self-serve tap room.
No, so I've been to one before. I don't know if you're about to kind of explain this a bit, Barbs, but I've been to one before in the States where it was a bar that had a self-serve section of the bar. And the idea is that basically they have all these taps up with these screens. You go up and you pay your money for what you go and select from a team, like you would do, like a drinks machine, like a Coca-Cola drinks machine. You'd go up and put your glass underneath the tap that you wanted, under a tap, select from the screen what beer you wanted from it, pay your money for that beer, and then it would pour out for you. So it's self-service in that sense, in that you've already been pre-screened coming into the bar that you're of legal drinking age, and then that's just another way of kind of serving you your beer. Personally, I miss the whole bartender, the having someone physically pour you out the drink. But in busy scenarios, where you've got a very jam-packed bar and you're trying to muscle your way through just to order some beers, maybe this is another offering.
So I can't go to the tap and just go, open my mouth and pour it down and then be like, I had a half.
I mean, if you've paid your money, you absolutely could do. I reckon the bar staff who are still working there would probably spot you out of the corner of their eye pouring this directly into your mouth and might have a word to say. But, I mean, yeah, you could do, I suppose.
Yeah, so not 2020, 2021, that. Trappers. The machine is going to...
My mouth round the nozzle.
Yeah, the machine's going to know how much you've had, whether you go, no, that was definitely just a half instead of a full pint. But there is a little bit of assumed knowledge and ability in terms of actually knowing how to pour a pint and not just giving yourself a load of head.
But going back to Gloucester Brewery, I'm very pleased to hear, as you say, that they are, going from strength to strength, from a local brewery that serves a very regional area, but also as well the fact that they're going through a crowdfunding. It seems like, if I may say, crowdfunding is the new trendy thing that breweries are doing, where they're going out to the people directly and saying, invest in us, give us your money, and we'll sometime give you something in the future. But it has a lot more, I guess, kind of appeal with these kind of, with breweries. And, this is, crowdfunding isn't a new area of raising money. There's, the sites of,
Kickstarter.
So Kickstarter, thank you, Barber. So Kickstarter being, one of the most famous crowdfunding sites where you can go on and you can invest in pretty much anything you want, from people who want investment to go to the subtropics to do a film shoot, to people who make a new type of water bottle that they want money on, to people who are doing e-scooters. You can go and invest in all these people's, ventures, and entrepreneurs have a new direct line to consumers. Whereas for the brewery world, there's direct investment, like crowdfunding, like through themselves or through, other, like, Brewdog has got their punk investor their platform. That's where you could become a punk investor and you can kind of invest in this now £1 billion company, that's set to go IPO, and you get all these added perks, which I must say have taken a long time for any of these perks to come outside, apart from the 10% off guaranteed and free beer on your birthday, which they have given straight away. But the things like the t-shirts and the experiences that they're offering for their perks and benefits, I think they're saying will start coming in November, December of this year. But for some of us who have been investing into Brewdog or invested very early on, it's taken many years for any kind of benefits to come out. But I digress because Joe. No, I just want my Brewdog stash. That's all I'm saying. And also as well, I have never taken full advantage of it because of COVID years, but actually they allow one, as a punk investor, I can go to their AGM, so their annual general meeting, with a friend, and we can go along and participate, and and it's basically a big festival. Ooh. Their AGM is like a festival, so
are you allowed to take one friend?
One friend, so I have to choose who my favourite friend is. To go to the AGM. So
you are looking very well today, I must say.
That's a step in the right direction, Matthew Barber, to go invited to this. But I think crowdfunding, going straight to people, it makes a lot of sense, and we've seen a lot of breweries do it in their own different ways. So I'm pleased to hear that Gloucester Brewery are leaning into this crowdfunding.
The only raised eyebrow I've got about this is the huge increase in the revenues. Do they not? Does that not give them? I mean, the thing is, I think the amount that they're aiming for is probably higher than the revenues would get, and it'd take them a few years. So you can see why they want to take that shortcut. But there's I think you can go to Crowdcube if anyone would like to find out a little bit more about that opportunity. But good to see a brewery doing well.
So as Travis said at the start of the intro, we are going to do a slight different format, I suppose, for the Pursuit of Hoppers this week. We are going to channel our inner show and tell, and the three of us have each selected a beer for different reasons, primarily on the basis of it was something that was local to us, but I think each one is going to start taking a different theme, and when we'll do future episodes of this, we can start broadening the scope into, it's just a pure show and tell. Come prepared with a bit of a spiel about why you've bought this beer, why you're presenting it to the other hosts and to the listeners, and to make a case for why other people should try this. So I don't know, if you guys happy for, has anyone got a burning desire to go first in this first ever show and tell?
All right.
Go on, Travis, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. Okay, so the beer I've brought is to show and tell today. It's a little bit unusual, but I want to justify why it is. And this was on a recent trip to the Isle of Wight, which is where I used to live for about a year or so when I used to work over there. And it's a very local brewery. It's not so much a brewery. I'd call it a very nice farm shop, with a lovely restaurant, and it's called the Garlic Farm, and it's nestled bang smack in the centre of the Isle of Wight. And as you can guess, everything they do, they grow garlic, every single kind of garlic you could ever imagine. So, and what I've got is, it's called garlic beer, and it is brewed with black garlic.
Oh my word.
Okay, wow. So,
wow.
All right.
Okay.
We all love garlic.
Do we?
Okay. Yeah. It's a well-known fact.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's the flavour
garlic
maker.
it's a flavour maker.
I can't stand it personally.
Not a garlic beer.
It tastes absolutely frightful. Oh.
The garlic farm. We meet again.
We haven't had a good accent for a little while.
No, yeah.
Transylvania has just been nailed. Thank you very much.
Take that, Transylvania.
Hollywood film's interpretation of vampires
Yeah.
from Transylvania. We've just nailed it.
But yeah, so I've chosen the garlic beer. One, because I think people will be put off by garlic in their beer. Okay, and
I think that was a fair assumption.
that was a fair assumption. And I would also like to say I've not been the best advocate for flavoured beers that have been unusual on this time in this podcast.
I mean, pay your dues, Drubbers. You are prepared to try anything, I would say.
And I'm prepared to try it. So I had this a few times when I lived on the island, and I went back on a weekend away there, and I went to the garlic farm, had a fantastic breakfast, and I was walking through the garlic shop, and I saw a garlic beer, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. It's good. It doesn't taste like you think it would.
Well, not like garlic.
It doesn't like garlic.
God
Yeah. It's not just like it's not like chugging blended garlic bread or anything like that.
To be fair, that's all I can think of. That's what I think, and I'm tasting, and you're telling me it's a garlic beer. They quite literally have garlic cloves as the logo of the garlic farm. Everything about this garlic beer from the garlic farm is screaming, it tastes like garlic.
Yeah. So look, it's a very dark beer.
Very dark.
Yeah, very dark beer. And it's brewed on the island, and it goes brewed an artisanal amber ale with a hint of black garlic, which black garlic is a little bit sweeter than normal garlic, the way it's brewed. So it's very heavy, it's very malty, and it's very the way it is. But there is the hint of garlic that comes through, not overpowered in any way, shape, or form, and it is really, really tasty. And it's not something I would drink regularly, don't get me wrong. It's not something I'm going to go and drink pints and pints and pints of garlic beer on a night out.
But if you're going on a night out in Transylvania, this could be a nice protection, defense mechanism.
Yeah, it could be, from everybody. And
Now, can I, from everybody, no one come near me. I don't smell. Now, do you think, because garlic is one of those smells that once you ingest it, it starts coming out through your pores. Like you actually smell like the food
Gradually
that you've
become
drunk,
garlic.
or you've eaten. But you become more garlic. Let's put it that way. If you've had a garlicky meal, maybe you've gone on a Mediterranean diet or whatever. We all know that feeling of where you are quite literally oozing garlic through your pores. Do you feel like that? Because let's face it, the beery smell of a beery person is not a very pleasant smell. So that, combined with the garlic, could be the recipe for a very off-putting individual.
once again, it depends how much you're drinking. You would have to drink pints and pints and pints and pints of garlic beer. And for the price range, I'm not going to be buying pints and pints and pints and pints of garlic beer.
Okay, tell us about the price range.
Well,
what's the
it's
price
about
of this?
£5 a bottle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's the millilitres of that?
So it's 500 ml. And it's £5 a pint sort of thing. You're not going to be consuming that for the whole night sort of thing. And it's not the kind of beer you can consume for the whole night in any way, shape, or form. It's one of those ones that you would go, you know what? I'm going to have it. It's quite nice, but I'm going to move on to something a little bit lighter and refreshing afterwards.
I'll tell you what, how good though would be, like, you have some recipes that involve beer, cooking with beer. That's got to be magnificent. Say you're doing like a beef stew that's like cooking beef and ale stew. If you had a beef stew with the garlic in it, I bet that would be absolutely knockout.
So you're saying actually this beer could very much enhance your experience of a meal pairing.
Yeah.
If you pair this beer with the right food, this could be, it's like red wine with red meat. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So
but that's it. We look at so many beers that say good with food. What's better than a garlic beer?
You need an onion beer, and then you need like carrots.
I think we've talked about it before, Barber. A turnip-based beer.
Turnip-based beer. Yorkshire puddings, Swede. Love a bit of wintertime, especially a bit of Swede.
Very early on, Drabbers enlightened us to a Yorkshire, so what was it? A Sunday roast in a can made by a Yorkshire brewery, Northern Monk. Yeah. So I feel like you're going into this like there's a time and a place for all of these beers.
Yeah,
a time and a place. I'm not sure I want to visit that time or place.
well, I tell you what, I've got one more bottle of this. I will bring it next time we all meet up.
Okay, and we'll have a little
I will bring the bottle so you can all try a bit of garlic beer.
We could do that actually. The show and tell could also mean we hold on to a beer of ours or bring it to the next meetup and actually follow up on it. But if you're happy for me to move on to my world, because I think this nicely segues into my beer, because I've also gone for let's just say it like an unusual ingredient infused beer. So this beer has been brewed and made by Camden Town. So I'm encompassing as my local brewery kind of aesthetic. All the London breweries are my locals. So
ooh, sir, I think I know what it is, sir.
Well, you can hold on to your thoughts there.
Oh.
So Camden Town, as we know, the AB InBev now owned beverage company, are not known for their, I guess, kind of big collaboration works, and yet they've knocked out the park with a big collaboration with an unusually, kind of brand. So, Barber, you might know what this is, but I'm going to throw this over to Drabbers and say, Drabbers, what do you think Camden Town would collab with a specific brand to make a beer of?
Durex.
of all the brands out there, I was not expecting Durex, but yes, I suppose they could do.
That's pretty left field.
That is very left field. Okay. Barber, moving swiftly on, can you please tell us what you think they've made a collaboration with?
I did once drink a Jaeger bomb out of his condom. It was fresh out of the box, honestly.
I said moving swiftly on.
So that's just one for the outtakes. Right. Well, no, it's a big name, and so Camden has a collaboration. You're talking about a big name, and you're saying a unusual taste. And I didn't know. I think if it is the product that I think it is, I understand it is a very high yeast content product. So it is not that big a step away from beer.
Well, not as much of a bigger step as Durex is from beer.
yeah, that's a whole different world. Is this product by any chance one that you might either love or hate?
Correct, you're so spot on. And you're alluding to the fact that this is the Camden and Marmite collaboration beer, the Love-Hate Marmite Ale. This thing is fantastic. Looking at it, I'm showing the can up to the boys on the screen, and it is, as you can imagine, a very black and yellow. It's very much leaning into the Marmite brand colours.
Also very popular with Wiz Khalifa, as I'm told. I knew Drabbers would love that. That's a Drabbers joke all day long. I really hope the listeners get the reference
But for the listeners and not me that doesn't get this reference, what is it?
Black and Yellow.
Oh, Black and Yellow.
Like the song by Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, I got it out. So bad.
You know what it is.
Black and yellow.
So let me tell you about the beer. So as you can imagine, Marmite, one of the most famous, if not the most famous yeast-based product. Australia have their own version of Marmite called Vegemite, which is a yeast-based thing. But, you're usually resigning Marmite to being put on cheese, being put on toast. It's very much a spreadable yeast. Crumpets, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a standalone, like a very distinctive taste. And they've always run with this campaign of love it or hate it. Either you're a lover of Marmite or you despise Marmite. So Camden have come to town with Marmite, and they've thanks, Barber. And they've made they've got a little snicker then, and they've made a beer, and they refer to this as a Marmite ale. But digging a little bit deeper into this beer, it's actually referred to as an English smoked ale. Now, the smoking comes from the fact of how they're using malted barley that's been dried over an open flame. or how it traditionally could have been done in direct sunlight. So actually the barley itself has this, malted barley has this like smoke taste to it, which they then put into the brewing process, which hence gives this beer its more smoky aroma. Now there's quite a lot of smoky beers out there. I mean, actually quite a lot of them traditionally come from the German breweries use a lot of smoked beers, but this Camden Marmite beer, as you can imagine, I'm poured out into the glass. I'm going to show it up to you boys. It's a very dark looking beer, probably dark, from that smoked malted barley kind of flavor. It also has real Marmite in it as its yeast. So this is true to its form of what they're saying. It's got, it's kind of a Pilsner, a raunch Munich malt that's been roasted, but with the additions of Marmite as well. So to the taste, and to the nose, it actually does quite smell a bit Marmite-y from the nose, which is really fascinating. And I'm a fan of Marmite, so I'm set to love this.
You were always sold on it. Yeah.
And on the taste, though, it's quite familiar. We did Newcastle Brown not that long ago, so it's very similar to a kind of a Newcastle Brown, that nutty, kind of like brown ale. But this obviously being a smoked ale, it has that kind of like smokiness that comes across it. But good for everyone to know that it's been never pasteurized and it's suitable for veggies and vegans as well. So even if you're not a fan of Marmite, but you quite like the idea of a brown ale or quite a nutty beer, then I definitely think while it's available, try yourself on a Camden Marmite Love-Hate Marmite ale.
I'm going to have to give it a go.
Yeah,
You got to try these things, haven't you?
And they signed this off on the disclaimer on their description of it. It said, "Well, we'll toast to that," which I think, well done, well done.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That marketer was sat there waiting for a collaboration for years.
Yeah.
Like, I've got it. All I need to do is convince everyone we've got to do the Marmite collaboration, and we're all right.
He probably pitched it in his interview.
Yeah.
You've got the job.
Yeah. They just stood up.
The first ever standing ovation interview.
Yeah.
Right, well, does that make it my turn then in that case?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was funny. As I alluded to earlier on, I am lucky to have a number of good breweries down in my neck of the woods. I'm quite glad that we got the hop topic out of the way. Not out of the way, but we dealt with that. And I thought it would almost be a bit of a shame if I spoke about two breweries down in my neck of the woods. So I'm going to talk about another one. It's called Deya. I know, Joe, I think you've had sampled a bit of Deya's finest produce in the past, but Travers, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
How would you... and it's Deya.
Deya, yeah. So they are another one who actually...
Pretty sure there was a club in Weymouth called Deya that I've been in before.
Ah!
Yeah.
Right.
No connection.
No connection whatsoever. But yeah,
and interestingly, it's not an acronym. it's not an anagram of anything else. So that's
no, but they do tend to pair themselves with niter.
Oh dear. You guys, honestly. Right, however, so Deya, I don't know where to start with them really. I'm going to start by showing you guys the can.
Well, where are they from? Screen. Tell us where you're from. I know it's local, but where for the listeners is that?
This is Cheltenham. So they have...
Give us your address.
Not again. Not after what happened last time. So this is a Cheltenham brewery, and actually, if I can try and set the scene for you a little bit, and to be honest, I'm bringing them forward as something to talk about because I really think we also need to go and visit these guys and do a recording session there because they do more beers than you could potentially shake a stick at. However, they're in Cheltenham. If anyone knows Cheltenham, it's a
beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of an unusual location. Well, at least I think so. Just around the corner from the train station, it is just an industrial site. There's a big industrial unit in there, and weirdly, they seem to have set a bit of a trend because now just across the road from them, there's also now like quite a trendy wine bar. And I want to basically really exaggerate. This is really not the centre of Cheltenham. This is you're not far from the centre of Cheltenham, but it is not the part of town where you go for a night out. You're just near the train station, which is...
It sounds like the functional end of Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Like most places where there's a train station, there's like more like, people are coming and going as industrial things, as you say.
You could probably buy carpet from round there.
That's a pretty good example, actually. You're not far off. And there's a little bit of a housing estate nearby. Just down the road, there is an out-of-town car dealership and petrol station. And you're really not that far. It's not a huge town, but you're not in the central business districts. But
so what you're telling me is this location is ripe for gentrification.
Do you know what? Absolutely 100%. And it's probably that's what's going on. So they've got Deya is basically a big what's the warehouse? It is their brewing site. And basically they have opened it up to now it's almost as if you had a big old canteen of like a bar area. They've got a little bit of outside seating, but apparently what was a real success for them in the pandemic was they couldn't be open as a bar. However, they were open as basically an off license, just selling their own beer, and apparently that was just an absolutely rousing success for them. Again, to mention, I might have alluded to before that I'm a bit of a rugby fan. One really nice thing to do if you are a Cheltenham dweller but you like Gloucester rugby, such as myself, you go in, you maybe have a pint before you catch the train over to Gloucester, because the train station is in the centre of town. You get it to the centre of Gloucester. It's about a 5 or 10 minute train. You jump out and you walk round the corner to the rugby ground. But you go into Deya for a pint beforehand. They also, if you're wearing your Gloucester rugby shirt, they will give you a discount for your takeaway cans for your road beers, basically. And that is, I think, a really nice celebration of a little bit of the local feel.
Yeah.
And they're just a really cool brewery making lots of really cool beers. As I wanted to show you guys before, have a look at the can. They've got this really edgy, artistic design for all of their cans. The meaning of it still eludes me a little bit, but there's lots of images of crocodiles on a lot of the pictures. The beer that I'm drinking today, there is still a little bit left. So a very light coloured, very light coloured.
Which is the beer you're having? This
is a pale ale called. It's I think their standard bearer. It's called Steady Rolling Man, 5.2% pale ale. Bold, tasty, drinkable. Everything you would want and expect from a pale ale, but honestly, they do more beers than you could shake a stick at. I particularly fell in love with. At some point in the last 12 months or so, they did an amber lager, which I think was called Straight Talking, which was immeasurably quaffable. As I said, they're a local brewer trying different things and engaging with the local community. So we should give it a try as a team.
Thank you very much for sharing all that, Barber. I feel like we've had a pitch from the Cheltenham Tourism Board throughout that.
And also, I live here. Oh no, sorry, I want to get people to visit.
But yeah, so Deya is a brand I've heard of before, and I've had some of their beers, and they always rack up some fantastic awards, and they're always top rated for some of their best tasting beers. So I think the fact that they've that kind of that extra history behind where they are and why they're there, and looking at photos of the brewery itself, or the brew site as they refer to it, it's fascinating. It's obviously rejuvenating probably an old area of Cheltenham which doesn't really get much love in the past. But I don't know if you know where the name Deya comes from.
Do you know what? I had a conversation with someone about this recently, and I've completely forgotten.
What do you reckon, Travers?
Is it the song by Kid Cudi? Day and night.
It's the first start bit. Yeah. So, don't know. So, when you first mentioned Deya, when I first heard of Deya, the first time I'd ever heard the word Deya from was when I was travelling in Mallorca. I was on a family holiday there, and
I've been there.
A fantastic part of the Mallorca up in the mountains called Deya, and it is actually named after that part of Mallorca. Obviously, the founders of Deya loved that spot and thought this is a great name, and
it's like an old artists' colony.
Exactly,
Mallorca,
an old artist colony, which links back to probably why their cans are so fantastically different. Each one has a very different illustrative style and kind of pattern and kind of like picture they're depicting on each one. As you said, like weird things from crocodiles to looks like roosters wearing suits and top hats. Like, it's very interesting, isn't it? It's very, very UK craft beer scene, something a bit different. But no, Deya, as a hands down, I've heard of before because of the great tasting beers they've had. And when I was, traveling not too far away from Cheltenham, actually, I stopped off in a local, craft beer shop and the guy there could not speak higher, that's not a word, could not speak higher of Deya's products. So thank you very much for showing and telling, Deya.
But yeah, again, and there's something for everyone that they do there. And it's quite a nice scene. I mean, I was in there on a Friday night not too long ago, and it's like big refectory style space for everyone, and people will go out of town to go and have a beer there.
Sounds like a proper occasion, you're going to go to Deya, like you're going to go and be there. Like with people, meet up at Deya.
Yeah, big time.
Mostly because you've got to get cabs and stuff back into the centre of Cheltenham, I'd imagine.
well, do you know what? It is walkable, and to be honest, that might sort a few people out. Actually, having a bit of a walk, because some of them are a little more volatile beers. But it's worth, and hopefully in the future we'll get out there.
Absolutely. Well, we're brewing up an interview, I think, or a discussion live recording with them. But I think, chaps, as our first show and tell, we've covered a gamut here from a black garlic infused beer to a Marmite infused beer, all the way through to a local jewel of Deya. So yeah, we'll keep these coming. I think this is a good segment. We'll try it again sometime.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, pleasure. Like hearing about anything new, definitely.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.